Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to cross the Øresund to Copenhagen in Denmark once again, one of the best beer cities in the world in my opinion, and we're going to revisit one of my favourite Danish craft breweries, and these guys always do some very interesting beer. It feels like a little while since I reviewed one of their beers actually, it might be about 6 months or so. So for this one then we are going to head back to Amager Bryghus, and today we're having a taste of the Walter the Baby Bat, which is a double dry hops, double New England hazy IPA coming in at 8.5% ABV. So really curious to see how this one turns out. As I say, it's been a good while since I reviewed an Amager Bryghus beer, and this may well be the last bottled beer review that you see from Amager on the channel. They've just installed a canning line, so it's quite likely that the next review you see me do from these guys will be one of their canned beers. I really want to try their Panzer Pils, but I haven't seen it available yet, so the next time when they actually open the border and I can go back across to Copenhagen, I'll need to see if I can get a hold of that. I do need to review Todd the Axeman as well. That's one that's definitely in need of review as well. But always good to review more beers from Amager Bryghus. Like I say, one of my favourite Danish craft brews. My old favourites of course were the Arctic Sunstone, the Winter in Bangalore, the Batch 1000. The Bastard Princess was always a very nice one as well, and of course you've got the classic Herr Fredriksson Imperial Stout as well, which is always a very, very nice beer. Not seen that for a while though, but yeah, this is definitely a brewery that you want to check out if you get the chance, and they are very, very well regarded throughout Europe as well. So looking forward to trying this one, an 8.5% double dry hopped hazy New England Imperial IPA, and hopefully it's a good one. So yeah, let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Amager Bryghus before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Amager Bryghus then, on to my brewery notes. So Amager Bryghus, as I've told you before, are based in Kastrup in the southern part of Copenhagen, and these guys are probably one of the best known Danish craft breweries outside of the likes of Toul and Mikkeller, but they are exporting quite a bit these days. So the brewery was established back in April of 2007 by two friends, Morten Valentin Lundsbach and Jakob Storm, both of whom were avid home brewers, and apparently in school the pair were forced to do a chemistry and physics project together, so they wrote about the fermentation process in beers, and this planted the seed forevermore for them to become brewers. But both gained their brewing diplomas from the Scandinavian Brewing School back in 2008, and the company has gone on to become highly decorated, one of the most highly decorated breweries in Denmark at the moment. So their first brewery that they had was located in Tornby in the southern part of the city, and they've been constantly expanding the company over the last few years. They had to buy a whole new brew kit in 2011, which took their brew capacity up to around 250,000 litres of beer per year, but they managed to get it up to around 400,000 litres in their first brewery. They moved to a new site closer to the airport in 2018, which doubled their capacity up to around 800,000 litres of beer per year, and they also opened up their tap house bar in Copenhagen next to Nørreport station in March of 2019, and then they've now got another bar in Amager called Brewery, which I believe opened either very late 2019, it might have been December 2019 or January of 2020. I might be wrong on those dates, it could have been a little bit later than that, but they do have Bruggen. They've got two bars basically. Bruggen apparently was quite a well-known bar in Amager before, so I'll need to go and check that one out. I've not really explored that part of Copenhagen too much when I've been across, but as of May 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, they've produced around 260 different kinds of beer, but I wouldn't be surprised if that number isn't accurate, because obviously 2007, 2008, when these guys started up, is a little bit before the whole Untappd thing. So yeah, you know, Amager Bryghus, very, very well respected. I've had some really great beers from these guys in the past, and it is nice to return to them again after quite a little while. So yeah, they've been experimenting a lot with barrel aging recently. They've got their double black mash which they've been aging in different kinds of barrels recently. They've got the Wicked Tales of Scotland series, which I've only tried one of those. I think I tried the Scotch Ale in that series, which was very, very nice. I need to try and get a hold of the other ones to review for you. I've just not seen them. They haven't made their way over to Sweden yet, unfortunately. But I need to see about trying some more of the barrel aged beers from Amager. I need to see where I can actually source those from, to be honest with you. But yeah, a very, very good brewery in my experience. I really recommend that you try either the Batch 1000 or the Herr Fredriksson. Those are the two my two favourite beers from this brewery. You know, Winter in Bangalore is really interesting as well. They've got some really good beers. Try this brewery and just see what you think. But I think my next review from these guys will probably be the Panzerpils, or it will be the Todd the Axeman, because you know Panzerpils is the very first beer that they've canned, and you know Todd the Axeman is a classic one that I've just never got around to reviewing. So that will need to be fixed on the channel at some point soon. So yeah, that's all you need to know about these guys. As I say, check out all the links in the description below. But let's get on and actually have a look at this beer itself then. So as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is an 8.5% double dry hop, double New England IPA, or double hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's supposed to be pretty damn good, this one. So as you can see, there is the artwork on it. Amager Bryghus, of course, do have a very distinctive artwork. I do wish they would keep since they've had the smaller bottles, they've taken away the flags from the Amager logo. I do wish they'd put those back. I think it is nice that it has it marked that this is a Danish beer. I always like that. It does say, well, I'm saying it should be marked, but it says product of Denmark. I wish they would put a little, you know, they could put two little Danish flags on the side of that. I liked it when, with the collaboration beers, they always used to put the American flag and the Danish one or whatever. I think that was a very nice touch that these guys used to do. But yeah, it says on the side here, I always like the little blurbs that you get on the Amager beers. It says, when you're only 8 weeks old, there are many things in life that you're not quite aware of yet. Little Walter just had to giggle a bit and move his arms in a cute bat-like manner to see true love streaming from his parents' eyes. Their utmost devotion he was fully aware of, but the fact that Walter at this early stage in his life was a true world record holder, that he probably didn't know. The whole concept of a world record would not be fully explained to him until several years later, but when he invited all his friends and family over for his baptism party in early April 2020, Walter owned the honourable record of being the youngest person in the world to have a dry hopped hazy double IPA named after him, no less. Yeah, that's a beer for the record. At this stage of life, Walter's drink of choice was still milk, so he would let his guests dig into the juicier stuff, that IPA something. Walter, however, was not entirely fond of the beer that carried his name. A baby bat? Seriously? How embarrassing is that exactly? But Walter would resign and forgive, because that's something you learn fast when you're the son of a beer label illustrator with a special affection for horror movies and the more bizarre comics. Such poor taste. At this early stage in life, Walter had learned to understand that being depicted as a baby bat was actually a sign of affection. At least in the minds of his screwed up parents, Walter sighed deeply and thought to himself, with this mum and daddy, it sure is going to be a long life. So yeah, the artwork on this one by Simon Hartvig Dalgard. So yeah, it's this beer, of course, was named after his newborn son Walter. So yeah, that's pretty cool actually. But yeah, 8.5%. I think I've said it was double dry hopped. It just says dry hopped rather than double dry hopped. But yeah, an 8.5% dry hopped New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, double IPA. But yeah, really nicely presented, this one. You know, Simon's artwork is lovely. I really like the Amager Bryghus artwork that you get, and there you can see there is the Amager Bryghus symbol on the bottle cap there, which is nice. The camera's just focusing on that there. But yeah, 8.5%. Without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. The brew malt, the malts in this one, it's Pilsner, Turo, and Carapils in this one. And it's got some wheat malt in it and also some malted oats, and then the hops are Columbus, Mosaic, Chinook and Simcoe, and it says it's got a UK ale yeast strain in it, so I'm wondering if that will be a London Fog, since it's a hazy IPA. But yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Really curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So yeah, let's get out. It smells lovely when you open it up. Columbus, as we know, is the typical bittering hop. Chinook, of course, you know, Columbus gives you these lovely spicy notes. Chinook is that big beast that gives you all of the piney resins and the big dark grapefruit. Mosaic gives you those lovely kind of tangerine orangey notes. So what was the other one? Simcoe gives you these lovely lighter kind of passion fruity qualities. So yeah, I think this beer Should be really nice. This is another one that I picked up from Glassbanken.se, and I think it will be pretty damn fresh actually, because it came from Denmark. So yeah, as you can see, this beer's poured a lovely kind of hazy bright yellow. I mean, this is definitely leaning towards that yellow end of the spectrum when it comes to the New England IPAs. You can see there's about a third of a finger of a frothy white head. That's going to fade away very quickly to be a very thin foamy layer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but you know, overall it does look very, very nice actually. I like how this whole beer comes together. I like how this I really like how this one looks. It's not the haziest and soupiest of beers that I've kind of come across in the New England hazy category, but you know, it does look pretty damn nice. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one, it does have a good degree of that haze to it, but like I say, not the thickest and soupiest beer that you're going to come across in this category. But there's nothing wrong with that, as long as the flavour's good, who really cares? But yeah, let's take a closer look at that aroma then and see how we get on. Nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. This smells a bit like a monster. When you're a bit further away from this one, it really smells quite it really smells very juicy and fruity, but when you go into this one you can smell a little bit more of the malt in this. The wheat really comes out quite nicely. You can also smell the oats, and you can smell a little bit, you can smell that this is a bit of a boozier beer. At 8.5%, I think this is the kind of limit. I've always felt with the New England IPAs that when you get to sort of 8.5%, this is the furthest you can go without putting a little bit of caramalt or a little bit of carapils. They have got carapils in this one, so I think it'll be good. But I always think that's the furthest, 8 to 8.5%. That's the furthest you can go with purely wheat, pale malt, and oats. Otherwise, I think you really are pushing it in terms of the booziness. But I'm curious about this beer because the brewer, the girl that they have brewing for them, she's Brazilian, and she was one of the brewers. She brewed for Brewery in Helsingborg for a good number of years as well, actually. But yeah, the aroma of this beer, I have to say, is very, very nice. The aroma of this is it actually reminds me of the Triple Threat that I had from Brewery quite recently. Actually, it's got the same kind of malty kind of qualities to it, which is quite interesting actually when you consider their brewer did brew at Brewery before. So maybe her apprentice is the one brewing at Brewery now. Don't know. But yeah, the aroma of this is really nice. You can smell that lovely kind of more bitey wheat. I think this one leans more towards the oaty side of things, but there's definitely a good little bit of a kind of caramelly type note to this one. It does have a little bit of a slightly brown sugary sweetness to it, which is great. I really like how everything kind of joins together in this one. This is a lovely smelling beer actually. If you've watched the channel before, you will know that I love it when there's a good malty presence to a beer. I think beers have always got to be very balanced between the malt and the hoppy side of things, and I think this one is going to suit that down to the ground. So with this beer, you can really get a very, very nice balance there. Like I say, you can pick up some of the pale, you can pick up a little bit of the pale malt qualities, but there's a good bit of bitey, kind of thicker wheat to it. There's some nice big oaty creaminess in there, good little bit of a sweet kind of caramelly, biscuity quality as well. But it's kind of everything you would expect in the malt base. There's nothing overly surprising about that. On the hoppy side of things, there is a little bit of earthiness in there. That'll be the Mosaic, I think, that's giving you that, but to some degree I think the Columbus and the Chinook can give you that as well, but I think mainly the Mosaic and the Columbus will give you it. You can smell that typical big spicy floral aromaticity that you get from Columbus. These guys love using this hop. Amager love Columbus as a bittering hop, and so they're still very keen on Chinook as well from the old days when they were doing the West Coast IPAs. So you definitely get a bit of a kind of piney resin out of this one, but I think it leans more towards a kind of spicy floral aromaticity, and there is a bit of grassiness to the beer as well, but I think on the green side of the hops it's mainly a big spicy floral aromaticity. I think it's the Columbus that's really showing in this one. I'm not sure whether they would have used the Chinook as one of the early edition hops. Columbus most likely, or almost certainly, is an early edition hop, but the Chinook, I'm not sure. Going by the aroma, it's quite difficult to tell, but yeah, Columbus definitely an early edition hop. That'll be the one that will give you most of the bitterness in this beer. But yeah, definitely a bit of a lighter grassiness, and the fruitiness comes out quite nicely in this. It actually smells very like a kind of, it actually smells really quite jammy almost, this one. It's like a really kind of boozy, tropical fruity jam that you're getting out of this. So you can definitely pick up some of the passion fruity notes from the Simcoe. There's a bit of the stronger grapefruity notes from the Chinook as well, but I think it's more passion fruity than grapefruity. So yeah, the Chinook and the passion fruit are contributing to those darker tropical fruits that you get there. There's also a little bit of a lighter kind of, you do get some of the lighter things in there, a bit of a mango, a bit of a papaya kind of note out of it. I don't know, papaya's maybe too light. Definitely mango though. There is definitely a lighter tropical fruit to this, that apricot-y, papaya-y, mango-y type thing that comes out of this one. You've got some lovely kind of tangerine-y oranges to this as well, which is your kind of typical thing for Mosaic, and there's almost just a little bit of a pineapple-y quality to the aroma here as well. There's some lovely lighter tropical fruits in there, but towards the front of the nose you really get the tangerine oranges from the Mosaic kind of shining out there. But yeah, with Simcoe and Mosaic, what I think this beer is, I think it's probably the Simcoe and Mosaic are the ones that have been used for the the late edition and the dry hopping, and I think the Simcoe and Chinook have been added earlier in the boil. It doesn't say exactly what order they put it in, but it does say Columbus, Mosaic, Chinook and Simcoe. So maybe the Chinook I'm guessing that Chinook might have been used in the dry hopping as well actually, which is interesting. I've not tried too many beers that they use Chinook as a late edition hop, so that's another interesting perspective, because normally Chinook is a big grapefruity and piney resinous beast actually, and they used to love using that in the likes of the Batch 1000 and the other West Coast IPAs that we did. So yeah, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma. This one I think it's quite nice. You get a bit more of a malty presence out of this, but it's also got the lovely fruity juiciness that you expect. But let's have a taste of this one now. This one is the Walter, the Baby Bat, a dry hopped New England hazy double IPA coming in at 8.5% to celebrate Simon Dalgard's, their label artist. This is to celebrate the birth of his son Walter. So as a fellow new father, big shout out to Simon, because I love his artwork. The artwork that he does in these beers is awesome. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. That's good. That's really nice actually. It's one of the more kind of creamy and smooth hazy IPAs that I've had recently. I mean, this gets a thumbs up from me. The first New England IPA that I had from Amager was the Bastard Princess, and that was quite nice. I have had another one since then actually, but the name of that beer's gone completely out of my head. It feels like quite a long, as I say, I think it's been about 6 months since I filmed an Amager review for you, and it's a shame because, as I say, these guys are one of my favourite breweries. These guys are consistently good, consistently highly ranked by Rate Beer and all these kind of things, and deservedly so in my experience. But yeah, I really like this one. This is absolutely solid. Yeah, big thumbs up to Amager Bryghus once again. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this down then. As I say, first impressions, it's a very smooth and really well balanced New England IPA. This one, I think I'm drinking this one just in very good condition, because you're not getting any of the kind of dustiness that you could sometimes get from dry hopping, and as I say, it just strikes me as very well balanced. Straight away across the middle of your palate you feel that nice kind of pale malty quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue. If you go towards the back of the palate there, you do get a little bit of the wheaty bitiness there, but that's not too pronounced in my opinion. This really strikes me as more of a kind of smooth beer, this one actually. And that's the thing, is I've always found the Amager beers, they do have that little bit of oiliness to them, regardless of whether it's a West Coaster or whether it is a New England one. And that's I think that's one of the reasons why I like their beers a lot, because I do like my IPAs to be a little bit more oily and fruity, if that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, let's focus on the malt base first. So like I said, the whole middle of your palate is just blanketed with a bit of the pale malt. If you go towards the back third of your tongue, you can feel it's a little bit thicker, and you've got a really nice kind of smooth wheaty quality coming out of this one. It does have a little touch of bitiness to it, but it's not overly much. As you move into that kind of middle third of your tongue, that's where you get a little bit more diversity out of the beer. You can feel a little bit of the crispness from the Pilsner malt. Was it the Carapils, I think, that they had in this one? Sure, it was Carapils. So yeah, you do get the Carapils, and it's Pilsner 2-row as well, actually, so that makes sense. So in the middle third of your palate, you definitely can feel a little bit of that kind of typical crispness that you would expect of... you can definitely pick up a little bit of that crispness that you would expect of Pilsner malt, actually, which is really nice. In the very centre of your palate, you've got a nice kind of sweet caramelly quality. You've got a little bit of the biscuity note as you kind of move out from the centre of your palate there. So that will be the Carapils that's giving you that. So definitely sweet caramel in the very centre of your palate, not too big and too oily, if you like, just, you know, quite subtle. That's the thing that's covering up the booziness in the beer, but then it gets more and more biscuity as you move out towards the edge of the palate, and as you move out towards the edges of the tongue, that's when you start to get the kind of crispness from this beer. But underneath that, as I say, a kind of smooth pale malty base, and as you move towards the front part of that middle third of your tongue, that's where you kind of get the creamier aspects of the oat. But I think the oats might spread a little bit further back than that. This beer really does have a very nice kind of underlying smoothness to it, in my opinion. Yeah, I like how that. I really like how that goes together. I mean, the flavour in this beer is the malt base, I think, is really nicely done, actually. So I have to compliment Amager Bryghus on that. They seem to get a good balance between the kind of creaminess and the wheatiness. Their beers are always, the malt bases that you get out of Amager are always really good, and I like that they focus quite a bit on the malt base as well. Quite a number of breweries just, you know, they find the right amount of oats, they find the right amount of wheat, and they put a bit of pale malt in it as well. And they do things that way, whereas I think Amager do put a little bit more thought into exactly what malts and things are going into the beer. So I like that they have a little bit more of a malty focus, because I think, you know, I'm a bit of a purist that way. I like the four main ingredients: the water, the hops, the malt, and the yeast. I think all of them can play a huge part in the beer. I do wonder what yeast they're using, if it is a London Fog or if it is just a straight up UK ale yeast, because I mean, obviously if you're using like a Lallemand or a London Fog, I think the beer might feel a little bit thicker than this. So I don't know, I think it might be a different yeast strain. I think I might have told you lies earlier on in the video. But let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness there. I think that'll be coming mainly from the Columbus. I suspect that's the early edition hop in this one. And the earthiness also isn't quite dark enough to be the Mosaic, I don't think. But as you come further forward along the sides of the palate there, you do get a little bit, you can feel this, it gradually gets more and more and more and more bitter, and you've got a nice kind of slightly spicy floral aromaticity out of this one. But this is a very low bitterness. It's a very low IBU New England IPA, this one. It's more very light and very smooth and very drinkable, actually, but you can tell this beer is pretty damn fresh, so it's not as if the IBUs have dropped or anything like that. This is a very fresh beer. So yeah, for an 8.5%er, it's remarkably drinkable. But yeah, you do get a little bit of that kind of nice floral quality there. You can feel a little bit of the kind of piney resins in there, and particularly as you go into the aftertaste, you can feel them develop a little bit. But then as you go round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble, where those juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer. I would definitely say on the green side of the hops with this beer, it leans towards that. It really leans towards the how do you say it? The kind of floral side of things. But on the fruities part of the beer, if you go towards the back of that oily part of the palate, I was talking about the front third of your tongue, you definitely get some of the nice kind of, you do get a little bit of a darker grapefruit out of this one, which I'm guessing comes from the Chinook. As you move further forward from that, it starts to evolve to be a little bit more kind of passion fruity, which is undoubtedly the Simcoe, and then you do get a few more lighter tropical fruits, like a bit of there is a bit of a mango-y, apricot-y kind of thing. It's a whole mix of tropical fruits in there, but then on the front, very kind of front part of your tongue, it's that juicy mosaic kind of tangerine note that comes out of this beer, which is really nice. The oranges, I think, come out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. You get that oily tangerine orangey thing, but the tropical fruits kind of linger there a bit more. You can feel the slightly darker tropical notes lingering there with this beer as well. But yeah, this is really nice. This very, very smooth, quite an oily but juicy and fruity New England double IPA for me. So let's move on to the mouthfeel with this one then. I would say that this beer, it actually feels quite full-bodied. The carbonation is really smooth. I would say this really leans towards the oily side of things. It does have an element of creaminess to it, but mainly quite an oily beer in my mind. And that suits it. It really does suit it. It's a big kind of, it feels like quite a thick beer. You might actually, if you tasted this blind, you might think it was a triple IPA rather than a double IPA, come to think of it. But in terms of hoppy bitterness, you know, this one can't be more than 20 IBUs. It's a very, very low IBU beer in my opinion, this one. On the malty side of things, like I say, it's very, very smooth. You do have a degree of sweetness in the middle of the palate, but mainly it's quite smooth. Further towards the front of the tongue it gets a bit thicker, but at the back of the palate you've got a bit of thickness from the wheat as well, and the fruitiness that you get out of this is lovely and oily. It's got a balance between juiciness and oiliness, but I think it leans more towards the oily end of the spectrum. Definitely one of the kind of smoother and more oily New England IPAs that I've had, rather than being one of the more kind of thicker and creamy ones. But I have to say, another solid beer from Amager Bryghus, and it's been a little while since I've had one of their beers, so it's quite difficult to compare this to other things that they've released recently. But what I will say is I really quite like this one. You know, I think it's quite different from the Bastard Princess, which was their first one, and that's the one that I really remember having from them in the New England category. But it's a lovely beer, this, and you know, from Amager Bryghus, that's what you want. So yeah, big thumbs up to the guys then, and as I say, congratulations to Simon for the birth of his son Walter. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. It's been awesome to go back to Amager after 6 months. This one was the Walter the Baby Bat, an 8.5% dry hopped New England hazy double IPA, whatever you want to call it. A lovely beer. This one definitely more of an oily and smooth New England IPA, and I've really enjoyed reviewing this one for you. Hopefully I can review some more beers from Amager very soon. I definitely won't be leaving it 6 months again. Panzer Pils or Todd the Axeman, I think, is going to be my next review, unless they've got something really crazy that comes out before then. I need to do more of the Wicked Tales of Scotland as well, actually. I really want to review those beers. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Amager Bryghus. Do give me some other Danish brewery recommendations as well, because I know there's new breweries over there starting that I haven't heard of yet. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Walter the Baby Bat, a dry hopped New England double IPA from Amager Bryghus in Amager in the southern part of Copenhagen on Sea Island in Denmark. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Make sure you check out this brewery and have a go at this beer. Skål.